All right, guys, happy Thursday. Today on the show, holy smokes. You're not going to believe this, but there is, in fact, a Diddy and Michael Jackson connection. Yes, the lawsuit that we have been covering and following, so much being revealed. You're not going to believe that somehow it is connected to Michael Jackson and his death. And I got to be honest, I'm kind of terrified. I think this is going to be the last day that I cover it because we're getting close to something that is very dangerous, I believe. Plus, later on in the show, I would definitely not say that Sexy Red, the artist, is an example of Black excellence, but perhaps Kamala Harris and Joe Budden think that she is. Yes, because her music was being featured at a White House event on Black excellence. And lastly, we have actress Erin Moriarty. Do you remember this before and after picture of this young actress that was circulating and conservatives were saying we should talk about all of this Botox and filler that these young people are getting? Well, she ended up just leaving social media because she felt bullied and upset. And I want to say that after looking into the story, conservatives were at the very least misinformed regarding the photos, and she is maybe owed an apology. All that and more today coming up on Candace Owens. All right, so I wasn't kidding at the top, guys. I am probably not going to cover this anymore because it is definitely getting a bit terrifying. Obviously, we covered this. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch. I believe it was Monday's episode. But yes, the Diddy lawsuit is absolutely crazy. Full stop. What if I told you guys that it is about to get even crazier, that there is directly a link to Michael Jackson's death? I want to be clear that when everything was going on with Michael Jackson, the lawsuits, his death, I thought that we were in full conspiracy theory territory when people were saying that Michael Jackson was killed. I actually know a lot of people that are in the industry who believe that Michael Jackson was killed, and I just thought it just sounds too whacked out to believe that somebody intentionally killed Michael Jackson. Of course, why would they do that? And also, I was believing the media. The media was extensively saying every single day that he was a pedophile, even though he factually won his case. I allowed my image of Michael Jackson certainly to be corroded by the media throughout that time period. I will fully confess that. Now, I want to remind you, before we get back into Michael Jackson, what we learned in the Diddy documents, just to very quickly recap. Well, if you read through them, again, these are all allegations, but you will come out of it understanding that there is allegedly some sort of a blackmail ring that is operating throughout Hollywood, and that artists that are producing music are actually being controlled via being induced into drugs at parties, and then what takes place is they're being recorded, and sometimes they're being recorded while they are committing sexual acts with minors. And something that we also saw in these docs is that these parties, at least a lot of them, are taking place in the Virgin Islands, which again just makes you go, what's happening here? Because Jeffrey Epstein, obviously, his home, or he owned an island that was just off the coast of St. Thomas. So we hear that again. I also am jogging your memory about the Bitcoin millionaire who, right before his death, found drowned, accidental drowning, even though he was fully clothed and had his wallet in his pocket, tweeted that the CIA and the Mossad were running a blackmail ring in the Virgin Islands. Something else that we learned in the Diddy lawsuit was that the media and the authorities are complicit. So the ring has real power, not imagined power. Again, I am using the word alleged because this person, despite having, video evidence and he has presented photographic evidence, this has not yet gone through the court system. And so we can't say that it's entirely true. And I'd say the biggest point that we took away from these Diddy docs was that this ring, if you believe it exists, can and will murder people to protect themselves. And he intimated this event that happened allegedly at a recording studio where Diddy and his son allegedly shot someone, and it was covered up by the LAPD and then the media. All right, so within those docs, and this is where it gets relevant, there is one man that is named as being the person that can do the cleanups, right? This is the guy that you are supposed to call if you get into any sort of a scenario. So in these docs, it says, Mr. Combs instructs his staff to always contact Mr. Muhammad, that is Fahim Muhammad, if they are ever pulled over by the police in Miami or California. And upon information and belief, this is regarding the shooting that took place at Chalice Recording Studios. Again, he is alleging that Diddy and his son shot someone. And after that shooting, the documents say explicitly that Mr. Muhammad spoke with the LAPD after G was shot at the recording studio. The LAPD was in the recording studio and witnessed the blood in the restroom, and they went with the bogus claim that the shooting of G occurred outside of the studio. This was all thanks to Mr. Muhammad's connections within law enforcement. So again, what we are seeing there is that you call this guy and this guy will make it disappear, and the media will report whatever the incident is in a capacity that covers up the crime, allegedly. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The cleanup guy, Mr. Fahim Muhammad, was also on the scene when Michael Jackson died. So I want to introduce you to and allow you to listen to Ian Carroll. He's an independent journalist that is investigating everything that is going on, and he explains that connection that Fahim has with Michael Jackson. Take a listen.
So this new lawsuit just came out that shows tons of evidence that P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, has been running a sexual blackmail operation very much like Jeffrey Epstein, but in the rap and music industry for basically 30 years. And in that lawsuit, we learned that his head of security while he's running the sexual blackmail ring is this guy named Fahim Muhammad, who before working for Diddy was the head of security for Michael Jackson when he was only 21. And he was one of the first people on the scene when Michael Jackson died. And before we go to Michael Jackson, the most important part of the Diddy case to bring across is the fact that the record executives at the very top knew what P. Diddy was doing. They were attending the parties with underage girls where they were spiking drinks. They were deeply involved in Diddy's personal life, and all evidence points to them supporting his operation, or at the very least turning a blind eye to it.
So yes, this is obviously huge. It's also potentially terrifying. And now if you want to be rational and use the rational side of your brain, you just go, okay, well, this could just be a coincidence, right? Like Fahim Muhammad, he is in security. And yes, he obviously is high up in security. He was providing security to Michael Jackson. He happened to die on his watch. Big deal, right? Big deal. Well, I think that would lead us to the question of who exactly is Fahim Muhammad, because that's kind of a big first job to have. You're 21 years old and you're protecting the king of pop. What exactly are his qualifications? Let's go back to Ian Carroll and his reporting.
And now, here's the best part. Check this out. This is in all of his bios, by the way, but we're pointing it out now. In 2008, Fahim graduated from Sacramento State University with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration with a concentration in real estate and marketing. Okay? Do you realize what's wrong with that yet? Anything coming to mind? When did Michael Jackson die? June 25th, 2009. Jackson died from cardiac arrest caused by a propofol and benzodiazepine overdose, caused by his doctor, apparently. Hold up. Hold the phone. Pause. Why is a dude who just graduated college last year with a business and real estate degree the head of security for the king of pop, for Michael Jackson, the most famous musician of all time?
Yeah, that is remarkably suspicious. And if we had a media that was interested in actually presenting the truth and not just propagandizing on behalf of the state, they would probably explore and look deeper into who this character is. But of course, that's not what the media does. Instead, they are meant to convince people of certain narratives. And like I said in the past, I've been a victim to that. I was obviously very young when everything was going on with Michael Jackson, and I believed the media, which is why I was kind of stunned to kind of go back and revisit the Michael Jackson case. And Ian has extensively unpacked that, revealing, and I did not know this, maybe perhaps because the media wasn't interested in telling us the end result. But yes, the FBI raided Michael Jackson's home. They poured through hours upon hours of the video footage that he had, other materials, documents that were in his house, trying to find this connection to Michael Jackson and potential child abuse. And what ended up being the result was that they could not find a single shred of proof that Michael Jackson had abused any children. And yet, despite this, the media convinced us that he was a pedophile, or maybe they didn't convince you, but they definitely did a good job convincing me that Michael Jackson was a pedophile. And to be clear, maybe it's perhaps the lack of evidence that was ever uncovered. Michael Jackson was found not guilty of all of the charges that were brought against him. But that didn't stop the media's obsessive attacks against him. They still wanted people to believe that this man was a bad individual. And so they shifted their claims and they started revealing in so many articles, so many front page news pieces were written to tell the masses that Michael Jackson was a raging anti-Semite. It is a fact, by the way, that Michael Jackson did keep a list of people in the industry that he said were his enemies, okay? On that list were people that all happened to be Jewish. So it was lawyer Gloria Allred, music exec Tommy Mottola, Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, you may have heard of him, and I'm going to mention him later, Israeli illusionist Uri Geller, and also Michael Jackson's former manager, Dieter Wiesner. Now, to be clear, it was Dieter himself that revealed that Michael Jackson had this list, but he says that Michael Jackson was just paranoid, that Michael Jackson thought that these industry people were all colluding to try to ruin his life and to take over his life. And again, that was just Michael Jackson being crazy and being a raging anti-Semite. Well, Ian Carroll also investigates those claims as well. Take a listen.
And yes, Jackson did say that the Jews are, we're probably referring to the Jews in the music industry, are like leeches and that they took everything from him and that they did it on purpose. But when you look into those allegations or those insults, you realize that because of his will that was probably fake and filed right before his death. So the will was signed on July 7th in Los Angeles by 3 witnesses. But Jackson's family pointed out that he was in New York that day and there's video proving it. So they changed their story. But the witnesses definitely saw it and it was just in New York. So anyways, because of this will, John Branca was put in charge of his estate, which included his net worth of $230 million, but far more importantly, his 50% share of Sony ATV worth $750 million. Yes, he was taking on Sony. He was going after the hand that feeds him. And when you look into John Branca, in 2003, Jackson fired Branca because he was siphoning money out of Jackson's accounts in collusion with Sony Music CEO Tommy Mottola and funneling it through a bunch of offshore accounts in the Caribbean. John Branca is Jewish, and Tommy Mottola is also Jewish.
Wow. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know any of that? Because I certainly didn't. I didn't realize that this was a conflict at the end of Michael Jackson's life, that suddenly they were alleging that he signed a new will and handed everything over to the very people that he was fighting, the very people that he was saying were colluding to take things from him, ended up, in the end, taking things from him, despite their remarkable mistake saying that he signed this new will in a place that he simply wasn't at. So yes, Michael Jackson's estate was transferred over to specific individuals who happened to be Jewish. So what do we make of all of this? What do we make of all of this? What do you think about all of this? Well, I'm going to be honest with you that these claims keep coming up too often in Hollywood for me to be comfortable with it, right? We saw this, obviously, it's not just now the Diddy lawsuit, it's not just now Michael Jackson. We also have seen these claims with Kanye West, notoriously, obviously, when he tweeted out, "I'm about to go DEFCON 3 on some Jews," and the media freaked out, and people in the Jewish community were understandably very scared, not knowing what he meant. And I very much abstained from speaking much about the issue because people were so emotional that people couldn't hear, even if I had shared. And even when Kanye did share that he was speaking about specific people in Hollywood that he believed were coming after him and were trying to control him. He actually named some of those individuals. He shared personal text messages of a friend of his, a personal trainer to the stars, who again happens to be Jewish, who was threatening to put him in the hospital and to drug him against his will. Harley Pasternak is his name, and the media barely reported on those text messages that he shared publicly because obviously he was enemy number one. And here's what else I will tell you. When that Kanye situation went down, I was being threatened by a person named Rabbi Shmuley person that Michael Jackson put on his enemy list, the person that I had never heard of, was threatening me and saying that unless I came out and said things explicitly against Kanye, he would effectively ruin my life. He said that he would take out a front page ad and smear me as an anti-Semite. And it wasn't just him, it was also his daughter. They were messaging me saying, don't mess with Jews. Very bizarre stuff, and they have not stopped, to be clear. And him and his daughter have consistently pulled clips from this show, taken them out of context, and tried to convince Jewish people that I hate them.
Candace Owens is gripped with a poisonous, almost pathological hatred of Jews. It's actually become very serious. It's actually almost frightening. When you see a woman like Candace Owens blood libeling the Jewish people, by the way, Candace Owens is losing it. Her anti-Semitism grows by the day.
There is something really, truly wrong with Candace Owens. You guys know that I dislike liars and anti-Semites more than anything in the whole entire world. And here, we have a combination of both. Candace Owens simply will not stop defending Kanye West. It's like an obsession. If she's unable to genuinely and authentically condemn what Kanye said, it says a lot about her. If you come for us, we'll come back at you with everything that we have. I have heard from hundreds of you who feel so backstabbed and betrayed and disappointed in Candace Owens and others who defended, who enabled and encouraged Kanye West to continue spreading lies and venom and medieval Jewish hatred. Candace Owens posted a picture of my face and my name and my account to her over 4 million followers yesterday, many of whom are violence crazed and unhinged.
You really went after Candace Owens today. Why?
That's a sliver of what she actually deserves. She is such a liar. She is an anti-Semite. She hates Jews. She has a thing with Jews.
It's incredible, isn't it? Like, weird.
And while Jews are being attacked around the world, she finds it really necessary to spend her time, use her platform to defend and protect Kanye West while she talks
a Hitler lover.
Crap about
Kanye
Israel.
West is not just an anti-Semite. He's a Hitler lover. That's a different
literally,
level altogether.
Literally. She is abominable. I actually am disgusted by her because she hates Israel. We are coming for you, Candace, on the media, on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter.
The more she defends Kanye West, the more we're going to call her out.
Defending Kanye, we will come for you.
Kanye?
It's utterly ridiculous. It's insane. I know many Jewish people watch this show. Many Jewish people are my friends. And so what I believe is something that should be explored is whether or not what's happening is that just like within all communities, there are gangs, right? Gangs can form. We understand this. In the Black community, we've got the Bloods and we've got the Crips. Well, imagine if the Bloods and the Crips were doing horrific things, murdering people, controlling people with blackmail. And then every time a person spoke out about it, the Bloods and the Crips would call those people racist. Would get the media to say those people were racist. Any person that was talking about a specific gang, a small group of people, would say, oh my God, no. That's like slavery. You can't at all say anything bad about the Bloods and the Crips. And then the entire Black community believed it and was scared and thought, oh my God, like, is slavery actually coming back? It would be emotional manipulation because, of course, we would know that despite the fact that the Bloods and the Crips are Black, that the majority of Black people do not support the crimes that they have committed, the crimes that they continue to commit. It's a gang. But what if that is what is happening right now in Hollywood, if there is just a very small ring of specific people who are using the fact that they are Jewish to shield themselves from any criticism? It's food for thought, right? And I think, again, there have been enough people that are speaking out about a ring in Hollywood, also a ring potentially in DC, that we should start to ask those questions. All of us, Black, Spanish, Jewish, Chinese, Japanese, all Americans should want answers because this appears to be something that is quite sinister. I will put a button on this by bringing up some tweets from Meek Mill. He has been under fire. The Black media, quote unquote Black media, is saying that he is gay. And he tweeted this: I want to get citizenship in Ghana. America is made to tear Black men down if you don't follow orders. Every Black blog site enhanced that post to make me seem gay. I change laws for our people and I donate millions. They are designed to destroy the image of Black leaders. It can't work with me though. You gotta really kill me. And I still will get bigger after death. This is God, not me. LOL. What do we say to that? Oh, well, what we always say every time a Black man speaks out and says that he is being intentionally smeared in the press, we just say, well, Meek Mill must be paranoid. Meek Mill must be crazy. Again, how many people are we going to keep saying that about before we actually have a meaningful discussion about something that could be quite sinister happening in Hollywood? And yes, I think it is potentially so dangerous if these documents against Diddy are true that they will kill people before they allow that ring to be exposed. And that is all that I am going to say on that matter. While experts anticipated rate cuts, inflation in the United States is still a significant economic concern. Think about it. The U.S. is in the hole by $34 trillion, and yet we keep printing money, which jacks up the prices that you pay every single day. You can bury your head in the sand, or you can do something about it. Diversify a portion of your savings into gold with Birch Gold Group. Gold has always acted as a hedge against inflation, and Birch Gold makes it easy to own it. They'll help you convert your existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold, and you won't pay a penny out of pocket. Make gold a part of your saving strategy and buy it from Birch Gold. They've been the exclusive gold partner of the Daily Wire for over 7 years, helping thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Text Candace to 989898 and get your free info kit on gold. Then talk to a precious metal specialist about protecting your savings from inflation with gold. Text Candace to 989898 now. Okay, now it's time for some topics du jour. Before we get into our first topic, I want to remind you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. We are so close to 3 million subs. All right, so in January of this year, social media sort of erupted over a photo that actress Erin Moriarty shared. It was just of herself. I guess she was just feeling herself, thought she looked super beautiful, and shared the photo. And she looked drastically different than the Erin Moriarty that people on social media are accustomed to seeing. So what you're seeing right here, I'm going to show you the before and after. This is her when she first appeared on the scene in Hollywood. And then this was a photo that she shared. And there was major backlash to this photo because people were going, she looks so much better on the left. She looks so beautiful. She looks so sweet. Why would she do this to her face? She never needed this plastic surgery. Obviously, you know, I routinely cover circumstances like that where I'm just asking the question of why so many young people who are clearly beautiful and you're never going to look better than you do in your youth are turning to Botox and turning to injections to alter their face. There's also people that are getting that procedure where they suck the fat from their face. I guess they think it gives them a more chiseled effect. But guys, trust me when I say you want to hold on to your fat, because when you get older, it's only going to get more and more chiseled until we all look like Empress Yzma from Emperor's New Groove. But anyways, I did not cover the story at that time at all. I obviously did see it circulating. It was super hot, and some people did cover it. Among them, Megyn Kelly did, and I'll tell you what she said. I'll show you what she said. Take a listen.
There's this gal who starred in both of those. Her name is Erin Moriarty, and she's 29 years old, and she's a beautiful actress. But she's decided to completely change her face. This is a picture of her before, which I think was relatively recent, within the past year or so. Very beautiful girl. So beautiful that she was becoming a very famous Hollywood actress, put on camera and on screen and on multiple shows and movies. Now look at her. Look at that. She's got the Kim Kardashian lips. She's made her nose so skinny, it looks like a pencil now. She's got like what appear to me to be cheek implants. You like huge, the cheekbones are like out to here. She look like a nice, beautiful, natural gal. And I'm sorry not to pick on this Moriarty gal, but this, like, more and more young women are doing this.
So just to be clear, first and foremost, Michael Knowles is sitting there listening. I'm just going to point out Michael Knowles, the Daily Wire is there, and that is who Megyn is talking to. But to be clear, in terms of just the larger concept, I very much agree with Megyn Kelly talking about this, because I think it's really important to speak to young women who are feeling the pressure to look a certain way, to look like a prototype, to look like Kim Kardashian and have plastic face and constantly be nipping and tucking because you're so afraid of aging. And I agree that it's very sad that women are doing this, but I wanted to bring up this particular story because it led to Erin Moriarty quitting social media, but not before she issued some choice words to Megyn Kelly. She wrote that she was, quote, horrified by the reaction, the reductive assumptions, and the aforementioned video, but is a prime example of such harassment. It's broken my heart. You've broken my heart. You've lost the privilege of this account. There is no excuse for these horrific allegations, the verbal abuse that I have had to delete, and genuinely false information that is being used to perpetuate a message that is exhibitionist feminism. You don't have to believe me when I say that these videos are absolutely false. And then she went on to directly address Megyn, writing this: shame on you, Megyn Kelly. Implying that my photo is reflective of women being in a worse place is as false as my conviction of saying that if you resigned, you would be leaving women in a better place. So I'm sharing this because, like I said, so many people covered the story, and I definitely thought the photo was real. They are two true photos, but the problem is that the photos are taken nearly a decade apart. And I think that what happened is it started going viral and people didn't actually fact check the before and fact check the after. And of course, if you are taking photos nearly a decade apart of any person, especially a young woman, she says that photo of her was taken before she was even legally allowed to drink. I fact checked that. That is true. And then the second photo is taken as she is, quote, about to turn 30. So you're going to see a big difference between a young woman at the beginning of her 20s and by the end of the decade. And that's not to say that she hasn't had some stuff done. Maybe she has. But of course, what people are actually outraged about and what she is pointing to is the fact that she's simply aged and she no longer has a baby face. So I think people accidentally used this situation to make a very important and a valid point. But we should always try to go back and correct the record just as conservatives as a whole, because even when we are trying to deliver a certain point or trying to deliver a larger point that does hold, we shouldn't in the process just sort of roll over somebody. So I actually felt really bad for Erin Moriarty after I read this. Again, I do still think that she maybe had some tweaks, but in reality, she said she posted it because she thought she looked really pretty, and she has a lot of makeup in that after photo, whereas in the beginning, she looks very fresh-faced, and maybe this makeup artist just took a lot of liberty, and that's what she said. She said the makeup artist chiseled her face with contouring. Yes, that is possible. You would be shocked to see the before and after as it pertains to contouring, and it is just sad to think that she shared it because she thought that she looked really good. And then what ended up happening was there was an absolute firestorm of people telling her that she was really ugly and stupid for changing her face. It doesn't feel good as a woman to hear that and to read that, especially when what you've really done, the biggest drastic thing that you've done to your face in this circumstance is age, right? And we can't stop that. So it's always just good to go back and correct the record. We don't always get it right, but we do try to. And so I'm correcting the record on behalf of all conservatives in this circumstance. Sleep is the foundation of our mental and physical health. You need a consistent nighttime routine to function at your very best. So if you're struggling with sleep, you should check out Beam. It's not just your run-of-the-mill sleep aid. It's a concoction carefully crafted to help you rest without the grogginess that often accompanies other sleep remedies. Several people on my team use Beam's Dream Powder to sleep better through the night, and they show up very much ready to work. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of magnesium, L-theanine, and melatonin to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. Now available in delicious flavors like cinnamon cocoa, chocolate peanut butter, and mint chip, better sleep has never tasted better. And today, my listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder, their science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. You just mix Beam Dream into hot water or milk, stir or froth, and enjoy before bedtime. If you find yourself struggling to sleep, give it a try. Get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Candace and use code Candace at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Candace and use code Candace for up to 40% off. All right, guys, moving on to the White House. We love the White House, right? We absolutely love what they're doing at the White House, hosting trans individuals who are taking off their tops because, I don't know, freedom or something. Well, now they have hosted an event, Kamala Harris and Joe Budden, and this is HBCU Triumph. It is a Black Excellent event, Black excellence, event. And they are inviting people that they think embody Black excellence. And they're also, I suppose, playing music that they think embody Black excellence. And this DJ decided to play Sexy Red's Skee Yee. That's the name of the song, Skee Yee, at the White House. Take a listen and a watch.
Y'all, I'm at the VP house. They playing Sexy Red.
I don't know, guys. Is it Black excellence gathering a bunch of students, because those are, in fact, students of HBCU schools, and catering to them and let them know that you know kind of music that they listen to, and playing Skee Yee by Sexy Red? Is that actually Black excellence, or is that actually government excellence? I think it's government excellence. I think the government has just played the almost perfect hand when it comes to Black America, right? Destroyed our families. Black Americans factually were outpacing white Americans in the 1950s under Jim Crow in terms of economic growth. Black Americans were outpacing whites. And then the government got involved. A very racist Lyndon Baines Johnson passed the Civil Rights Act because he was forced to. He was an avowed racist, but because of what was going on in the nation, especially following the assassination of JFK and the rioting that was happening, he had to sign the Civil Rights Act to calm. And then as soon as he signed that act, he then also implemented welfarism via the Great Society Act. And he said, I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And he's basically been right pretty much. Black Americans keep thinking that Democrats are their saviors, thinking that Democrats are their friends, taking up these opportunities to be invited to the White House as they put on music, trash music. You know, the disintegration of music, the intentional disintegration of the Black soul, convincing Black America that this is their culture, when actually what it is it's the corrosion of Black culture. Sexy Red is success for Democrats, right? That we are twerking and dancing and listening to this music when just such a short time ago, we were listening to people like The Temptations and like Lauryn Hill. Maybe because, I don't know, there's an operation going on in Hollywood, and the people that brought us gangster rap and the people that brought us this sort of trash are being effectively blackmailed to create it. I don't know. That's what it's starting to look like. But anyways, Black America, or some Black Americans, definitely don't like me because I talk about these issues and I want to make Black Americans aware of the fact that we have been targeted and brainwashed against our better interests, which is why, despite the fact that I sat down with Joe Budden last week, the entertainer Joe Budden, the media was freaking out about this sit down, going, how dare you do this? And even Joe Budden's fans, they all jumped onto this Twitter space. We're asking him, why on earth would you sit down with Candace Owens? She is so bad. Take a listen to what they had to say. I'm showing you a video by a YouTuber that goes by Kingdom Reacts, and he is listening to the audio. Take a listen.
And people in the Black community do not like a voice like Candace Owens. They claim that she's been disrespectful with her comments throughout the years in regards to the Black community. And yeah, man, I just totally disagree. We're going to digest this clip. She recently posted a photo with Joe Budden saying that they have an interview coming up, and Joe Budden is being grilled by his people as to why he would even sit down with her. They don't even know what she's going to say. They just are upset that, at the very least, he sat down with her and had a conversation. They felt like it was disrespectful to the Black community. Crazy.
I just wanted to ask, bro. Everybody up here crying, I ain't doing all that. You claim to be this empath and you show so much empathy and you have this moral compass to where you don't expose yourself to things that you don't want to see. I'm just wondering how, if you claim to have that and claim to be that, and you run around and let me not say run around because I ain't trying to disrespect you or nothing, but you go and sit with somebody like Candace Owens. I ain't here to talk about no politics. I know you don't give a f about that, but I assume that you give a f about Black death.
So it then goes on, and the person that you're listening to speak says what she did with George Floyd. I mean, how she created an entire documentary, and he was killed by the police officers. And I'm grateful, by the way, to Kingdom Reacts. I don't know what his name is. I'm just going by his YouTube channel, for defending me in this video. And I would like to apologize to that person who feels so offended that Joe Budden sat down with me, because how dare I expose to Black Americans the fraudulence surrounding the George Floyd case? How dare I expose to Black America that Black Lives Matter not only stole that used George Floyd's unfortunate death to steal millions, money launder them to organizations that have nothing to do with Black America. But they also convinced Black Americans to riot and to loot their own communities so that business leaders moved out. We call this the white flight, right? Where nobody wants to police in those neighborhoods, nobody wants to live in those neighborhoods, nobody wants to do business in those neighborhoods, because why would they if they're just going to be rioted and looted? And then Black people end up more impoverished. So I'm sorry that I know that. I'm sorry that I refuse to kowtow to the Democrat world order that has effectively destroyed Black Americans. I am sorry that I am aware that George Floyd died with enough fentanyl in him to kill a horse. I'm sorry that I saw the full video of George Floyd's arrest. And I know that he was not complying at all and that they had safely put him into the back of the cruiser. He said that he couldn't breathe while he was standing up, okay? While he was sitting up, said he couldn't breathe in the back of the cruiser, and then asked to be put on the ground. I am sorry that I went on a fact-searching mission and exposed all of the lies and the media propaganda arm that routinely convinces Black America and all Americans really now that they're all a part of some victim group. And maybe we are all part of a victim group. I think we are all, to some extent, being victimized by the media, without question. We're constantly being lied to and fed lies and anguish so that we never turn around and look at who are the people that are actually controlling us and funding all of these divisions. So, yeah, that's my apology. I'm sorry that I refuse to kowtow and to instead educate myself on all of these issues. And education does not mean reading a headline about somebody and feeling a certain type of way. If you're like most Americans, you're struggling to make ends meet. Everything is more expensive these days. By the time you pay the bills, fill up your car, and go grocery shopping, there's almost nothing left. You're laying out your credit card for all non-essentials, or maybe even some essentials. Last I checked, the average credit card interest rate for Americans is sitting at 24%. That is insane. How are you supposed to dig yourself out of all of that debt? If you own a home, I want you to call my friends at American Financing right now. Interest rates have finally dropped into the fives, which is the lowest they've been in a long time. So call American Financing to talk about their refinance options. They save their customers on average $854 a month by tapping into their home equity and wiping out high-interest credit card debt. Think about it. $854 a month is like a $10,000 raise. What a relief that could be for you and your family. Do not wait to take control of your finances. These rates might not last long, so act today. Call American Financing at 800-795-1210. And if you call today, you may not have to make next month's mortgage payment. That's 800-795-1210 or visit AmericanFinancing.net.
NMLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org. APR for rates in the fives start at 6.799% for well-qualified borrowers. Call 800-795-1210 for details about credit costs and terms.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to read some of your comments pertaining to episodes past. These comments are pertaining to Depo Provera. I obviously have been ranting about birth control for some time on this show, and it is scary how people don't know the history of birth control and don't look into the trials to see the harm that it has always caused women and that they didn't care and the FDA gives it clearance anyways because it's all about money and it's all about profit. FC Salona writes, "Oh no, I'm 36 and have been taking the Depo Provera shot on and off since I was 17. Not once did a doctor mention the 21% increased risk of breast cancer. All they said to me was if you take it for more than 2 years straight, your bones might get weaker, but if I keep my weight under control." Definitely not going back to that shot. Yes, it should be considered a crime that doctors are not required to tell you about the trials, to tell you about what they did and what they discovered, women that were quite literally committing suicide when they were administered these shots in clinics, some of the clinics in Atlanta. Women that didn't want these shots and that were given them anyways were getting cancer. It's just unbelievable that they don't have to tell you any of that and they just have to spin to you that everything is going to be fine. So I'm glad that you looked into it and I'm glad that you are making a change. Next, Jennifer writes, absolutely. I was on Depo for about a decade, and I was unable to have children. I had a fibroid tumor wrapped and tied around my uterus, fallopian tubes, and ovaries. Everything had to be removed at 35. Yep. That it sounds like a true story, and especially when you read about all mechanisms of birth control, you realize that this keeps routinely being the circumstance that women find themselves having to remove certain parts. Again, we have covered this extensively on my series, A Shot in the Dark. We are going to be very soon going through each and every form of birth control that is available to women on the market, and prepared to be horrified. That stuff is going to be behind the paywall, but I want to tell you guys that tomorrow I am off because I am traveling. So instead of having a regular episode, what we are going to do is release the first episode of my series, A Shot in the Dark, for free here on YouTube. I can't wait for you guys to see it because I think it is some of the best work that we do here. I know that it's work that I do, but I mean, I think it is just such an informative series and it is really making a difference in the world. So this first episode is going to be about the Gardasil shot because that was, as I call it, my first shot in the dark, realizing how ignorant I was, and I got injured from it. And it is what made me so passionate about this issue. It makes me passionate about being educated when it comes to big pharma. And it makes me passionate that everybody needs to be aware of how evil the big pharma drug cartel is, because it's not just birth control and vaccines. It obviously extends also to the medicines that we are given. We wouldn't have an opioid crisis had it not been for big pharma and them being allowed to sell a product that they knew was highly addictive. But anyways, first episode is going to premiere for you guys for free here on the YouTube channel. And then I know that you're going to get so addicted to it, maybe I shouldn't have used the word addiction when talking about big pharma, but that you are going to want to see the rest of the series, which exists behind a paywall. I hope you guys enjoy it. I will see you next week.